let's discuss about functions properties. So generally the properties and the methods will be with objects and classes, right? But here we are saying that functions properties. In JavaScript, function is also an object that we have seen and also proved many times in the previous lectures. So in this particular lecture, we'll try to understand what are the properties as an object function have and how it will be useful to change few of its behavior. So let's try with an example here. Let me create a simple function here, bank account, and let me add two parameters for that. And here I'll say this dot number equal to number because I just want to create an object out of it whenever this function is getting called. So that's the reason I'm writing in this way. We can also just do a console otherwise for testing. Okay, this is a simple function that we have created. Now at this particular function, if you go ahead and just press dot here, it will give you set of things available with it. So we have already seen we have a call, we have bind, everything. These are the methods available on this function as an object. This time we want to understand what is this length as a first property of our function object. So let's see the outcome. It is giving us 2. It means that what is the number of parameters your function is having, that is this length. Okay. After that, there is one more interesting bank account dot prototype. So what is this prototype basically? We'll also try to understand. So this prototype is a class, you can say, that is giving you the prototype or the skeleton that is being used to create the object here called bank account. So this you can consider something like a class definition in terms of the object-oriented programming. So here in JavaScript, if you want to understand what is the skeleton that is used to create this object, so you can just go through the prototype. It looks quite complicated here. It will have a constructor and few more things inside it, but nothing to worry on that part because that's not the detail that we need to see in this lecture. But we also need to understand for an existing function which is creating an object in this case, how we can add additional properties into that by using this prototype, because just now we have confirmed this prototype is equivalent to a skeleton. So there are possibilities available for that. Let's try to do it. First of all, let me just create an object here, object 1, and I'm using the keyword new here to call the function bank account because I want to create this function. I want to execute this function with a new scope of context so that my this keyword will not belong to the global. It will belong to the newly created scope. That is my current object. Okay. And let's console OB1 to understand how exactly the object is got created. So we got a beautiful object here which is having two properties in that and one prototype. Again, what is this prototype? This prototype is indicating how the structure or the skeleton is there for your object or maybe the function you have created. But now understand this function maybe you have created earlier in other libraries or maybe created by some other developer, and now you want to introduce some more new properties into this. If you want to do that, of course you need to add a third here, whatever it could be, for example, balance. But let's say this writing this or changing the function definition is not in your hands. So you can't do it. Maybe it's in other library or maybe this code is being written by other developer. So how to do that? So here you can make use of prototype. So what I can do here, let me just comment these two lines. What I can do, I can say bank account to your prototype. It means to your skeleton. To your skeleton, I want to add a new property called balance and make the value initially 0 in that. Now, if I just try to see the values here, maybe OB1 dot we are having a number previously, then we are having a name and the newly created is balance. So this object is consist of three things now: number, name, and the balance. The balance was not initially part of your function here. It is later being added by using a prototype. So now let's see we are getting the third one balance equal to 0 very well or not. Yes, we are getting it. In the same way, I can also introduce a new method here as a property because we can add a method to a variable to a property. That's what the first class functions mean. So let's say here I want to introduce a new function. So I want to change the skeleton. I want to update the skeleton in which I want to add a new method called display. And here I need to add an anonymous function where I'll be consoling all these three values. So while consoling, I need to use directly this keyword because this is getting executed inside your object. This will get executed inside your object. That's the reason I'm making this, and this here. Now, if I just go here and say OB1, I want to call your functionality called display. And here also you can very clearly see when I'm just saying OB1 dot, it is giving me the balance, which is my property. You can see here at the bottom. After that, there is something called name that is also in property and the number. And there is also one display, which is a method that we have added by using our prototype. So one new property and one new method we have added by using a prototype. Let's try to call newly created display function to confirm all the execution is correct. It's working very perfectly, and the similar implementation for this will be this dot balance equals to 0, and display function will be like this. And now only what is the change in our case? The balance as well as this display function is not included originally inside the function definition that we are adding later by using a prototype. So this is how a prototype will be helpful to update the functions and the object behavior. So here make sure not to try changing the prototype and everything for the existing well-known libraries. Of course, you can do that, but if you do, the existing library can malfunction. Let's say you're trying this thing with any existing jQuery library or maybe any other third-party JavaScript library. So of course you can do that. But if you do, they might have some interlinking with their all the properties and the method. And suddenly, if you try adding anything new, it might malfunction. So it's better not to change the prototype of any other library that you are not much aware. Okay, there is one more interesting scenario here. Let me show you with one example. We comment out the code. Okay, so we are having, okay, I'll create a new one to make it simple. So I'll create one more here, call on add number one, number two, and which returns number one plus number two. Okay, so it's a simple function actually. So when it's a simple function, you should only call it for the execution purpose only. You should not call it to create an object out of it. So in this case, I can call on add and pass the respective values like this. Let me confirm we are getting the correct output first of all. Yes, we are getting it 4. Now, this is a simple function. You should not change this function, or if you add a new keyword here, so it will give you an object out of it. It will not only execute this function, it will also give you the object out of it. So which is not a necessary thing here, and we should not allow our function to do that. But let's say this function you have written, but this function is getting called by other developers, or maybe you are giving your library to other developers for further implementation or whatever it could be. So you cannot restrict them. You should not use the new keyword while calling as a function here. For this function, you can't do that. So due to this problem in the next generation JavaScript, a new thing is added that is called new.target. So what is this new.target? Try to understand it. So if I'm consoling here, new.target. So I'm just consoling new.target here, and let's see if I'm calling this as a normal function, what the value will be present. It is undefined inside the new target. I'll comment this console here to better understand only this line number 22. And if I use a new keyword here. In that case, what will be the value of this new dot target? So whenever I'm saying that a new keyword inside the new target, I'm getting something here. I'm getting the whole object, I'm getting the whole function inside the new dot target as a constructor. So with this, we can easily understand this function is getting called by using a new keyword or not. So what simply I can do here, I can say if there is something inside the new dot target. So you can simply say console function call not allowed with new keyword, or maybe you can specifically say more, like as an object creation not allowed and everything, and immediately after this just return this from here. No further execution is required. And now if you try to call this function by using a new keyword and see, it is not allowing further operations, and from here itself it is getting returned. And if you are doing it normally, and in that case let's also see our output. Yes, we are getting our output as well. So in this way we are able to identify your function is getting called by using a new keyword or in a normal traditional way. So this is how we have seen how the prototype will work, how the length of a function will work, which is an object internally, and we have also seen new dot target. So the function properties help us to change its behavior internally, which is already defined by other developers or maybe by yourself.